Listen, let me tell you something. If you've got to beg somebody to pay attention to you, to love you, to respect you, you're already in the wrong place. Begging for attention is a discount you should never put on yourself. The truth is, people value what is valuable, and if you know your worth, you don't need to chase anybody down just to get noticed. See, in a real relationship, attention is not forced. It's natural. When a man or woman truly cares, they don't need reminders to check in, to call, to ask how your day was. They do it because they want to, not because you beg them to. And that's the difference between being wanted and being tolerated. Let me tell you something about relationships that a lot of people don't want to hear. If you have to beg for attention, if you have to constantly remind somebody to love you, to care for you, to make you feel seen, then you are already lowering the value of who you are. See, attention is not something you should be on your knees asking for. It's something that should be given freely in a relationship. When two people are truly connected, that attention flows naturally. You don't need to remind a person who genuinely cares about you to text you back, to ask how your day was, to make you feel like you matter. They do it because they want to. They do it because you are important to them. But the moment you start begging, you flip the dynamic. You move from being valued to being tolerated, and nobody deserves to live in a space where they are just being tolerated. Think about it this way. When you walk into a store, do you ever see the most expensive item on sale in the discount aisles? No, you don't. Why? Because value doesn't beg to be noticed. Value stands on its own. The same applies to you. When you carry yourself with dignity, when you know your worth, you don't need to beg anybody to look your way. Begging tells the other person that you've forgotten your own value. And when you forget your value, people will treat you like you're worth less than you really are. That's how relationships slip into imbalance. One person begging, the other person deciding whether to give crumbs of attention. And I'm telling you, you're too valuable to accept crumbs. Now I understand where the urge comes from. Sometimes you love someone so deeply, you're afraid of losing them. You think that if you don't keep chasing, if you don't keep reminding them, maybe they'll drift away. But here's the truth. If they can forget you that easily, then they were never truly invested in the first place. A person who really cares, a person who really loves, they don't need reminders. They don't need a constant push. They're already there with you. They're already paying attention without being asked because you matter to them. So the begging is not saving your relationship. It's only draining your spirit. And let me tell you, the more you beg, the more unattractive it becomes. Because nothing kills respect faster than desperation. So what's the real way to keep someone's attention? It's not by running after them. It's not by losing sleep, wondering why they haven't called. It's not by lowering yourself to keep them entertained. The real way to keep attention is to shine. You've got to stay confident, stay focused on your own goals, your own growth, your own happiness. Because when you're living a full life, when you're taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, you become magnetic. People are drawn to that energy. People want to be around someone who knows who they are, who doesn't need constant validation to feel whole. That's what makes attention lasting. It's not the begging, it's the energy you carry. Confidence speaks louder than any words you could beg with. When you're confident, you don't have to say, "Please notice me." Your presence demands it. When you're confident, you don't have to wonder, "Do they see me?" Because your light shines so bright it cannot be ignored. And if somebody chooses not to see it, that's their loss, not yours. Remember, this begging says, "I don't believe I'm enough." But confidence says, "I am more than enough." If you don't see it, someone else surely will. And believe me, that confidence changes the whole game. The way people get it twisted is they think love means chasing somebody down, constantly reminding them to see your worth, to give you attention, to make you feel validated. But let me tell you something straight. Attention that has to be chased is attention that was never truly yours. If you've got to keep running after it, then it's not genuine. Real attention, the kind that lasts in a relationship, is the kind that comes to you naturally because you've got something about you that can't be ignored. You've got to stop chasing and start attracting. That's the real key. Because when you chase, you're moving out of fear. But when you attract, you're moving out of power. Fear makes you beg, but power makes you magnetic. You attract when you focus on yourself. When you wake up in the morning and put time into your own life, your goals, your career, your dreams, your body, your mind, your spirit, that's attraction. When you're busy building something for yourself, when you've got purpose and vision, people can't help but pay attention. Why? Because people are naturally drawn to energy. They're drawn to someone who knows where they're going, someone who carries themselves with confidence. You don't have to beg for love when you're walking in purpose. You don't have to chase anybody when you're already moving forward in your own lane. The right person will see your light and want to be part of your journey without you even asking. The problem is, too many people make the mistake of giving all their time and energy away trying to hold on to someone who isn't even holding them back. You lose yourself in the process of keeping somebody else. You sacrifice your own dreams, your own peace, just so you won't be left alone. But that's backwards, because the more you chase, the less attractive you become. It's not about ignoring your partner or acting like you don't care. That's not healthy either. It's about balance. It's about knowing that you deserve to be cared for without having to fight for scraps of attention. If you're constantly begging, it means the balance is broken. And broken balance will always leave you feeling empty. Start thinking about it like this when you walk in confidence. You don't have to explain your worth. When you're building, growing, improving, people notice. They can't help it. That glow you get from working on yourself, from being happy with your own life, that's attraction. And in relationships, attraction is stronger than begging ever could be. Because when you're attractive in energy, you don't pull people through force. You draw them through desire. They want to be there. They choose to give you attention. That's the difference between love that lasts and attention that fades. You ever see somebody so focused on their own goals that everybody just gravitates toward them? That's how you've got to be in a relationship. You don't keep somebody's eyes on you by demanding. Look at me. You keep their eyes on you by being someone they can't stop looking at. And I don't just mean looks. I'm talking about your energy, your drive, your happiness, your independence. When you've got that, you're not afraid of losing somebody because you know you'll be fine regardless. That confidence is irresistible. So stop chasing attention. Stop exhausting yourself trying to convince someone to see your worth. Instead, invest in yourself. Invest in your dreams. Invest in becoming the best version of you. Because when you do that, you don't have to ask for attention. It comes naturally. People who are truly meant for you will recognize your value without you saying a word. They'll stay not because you begged them to, but because they can't imagine walking away from the light you carry. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships is lowering their standards just to keep someone around. You think if you allow a little disrespect here, ignore a little neglect there, stay quiet when they forget to call, maybe they'll appreciate you more. But here's the reality. Every time you lower your standards, you're teaching that person how to treat you. You're telling them, it's okay if you don't give me attention, I'll accept it anyway. And once you've sent that message, it's hard to undo because people will always rise or fall to the level of standards you set. If you demand respect, if you require effort, if you make it clear that attention and care are non-negotiable, then that's exactly how they'll treat you. But if you let things slide because you're afraid to lose them, you're telling them you'll settle for less. And believe me, Once somebody knows you'll settle, they'll keep giving you less and less. Now, let me explain something. Standards are not about being controlling. They're not about being needy. And they're not about constantly nagging someone to do what you want. Standards are about knowing what you deserve and refusing to accept less. If you know you deserve love, respect, and consistent attention, then you set that expectation and hold to it. The right person won't see that as pressure. They'll see it as clarity. People who love you, people who are serious about you, they want to know how to love you better. They want to know how to show up for you. It's only the wrong ones who make you feel like having standards is a burden. The truth is, if you want to keep someone's attention without begging, you have to draw that line in the sand. You have to say, this is how I deserve to be treated. This is what I will and will not accept. And then you've got to stand by it. Because the moment you break your own rules, the moment you make exceptions out of fear of losing them, that's when you lose yourself. And once you lose yourself, you've already lost the relationship too. People don't stay for long with someone who doesn't respect themselves. Because if you don't respect yourself, you can't teach anybody else to respect you either. It might sound tough, but love without standards is just chaos. Attention without respect is meaningless. Somebody can call you all day, but if they don't respect you, what good is that attention? Somebody can spend time with you, but if they dismiss your feelings, what's the value in that presence? Standards give meaning to attention. They filter out the people who only want to play with your time from the people who truly want to invest in your heart. And here's another thing: setting standards doesn't push away the right person. It pushes away the wrong one. If somebody leaves because you demanded respect, they were never right for you in the first place. But if someone stays, if they rise up to meet your standards, that's how you know they're invested. Begging never reveals a person's true character. Standards do. Because anyone can stay when you're chasing them. The real test is who stays when you stop chasing and start demanding what you're worth. So stop being afraid that your standards are too high. Stop thinking that if you speak up, they'll walk away. If your standards drive someone away, that's not rejection. It's protection. It's life clearing out the wrong one to make room for the right one. The one who truly cares won't be intimidated by your standards. They'll be inspired by them. They'll see your value and want to match it. And that's how you get attention you don't have to beg for. So many people stay trapped in unhealthy relationships because they're terrified of losing the other person. They think, if I don't keep fighting for their attention, if I don't hold on tighter, if I don't bend myself into shapes to make them happy, they're going to leave me. That fear of loss is powerful. But let me tell you something. It's also destructive. Because fear makes you compromise yourself. Fear makes you beg. Fear makes you accept things you would never accept if you weren't scared of being alone. And the truth is, when you're holding on out of fear, you're not really holding on to love. You're holding on to the illusion of security. And that's why it hurts so much. Love isn't built on fear. Real love doesn't make you afraid that if you don't beg, you'll be forgotten. Real love is secure. Real love is present. Real love doesn't need a reminder. If someone truly cares about you, if they're truly invested, they're not going to wake up one day and just forget about you. They're not going to need constant convincing to stay. You won't have to send 1,000 messages just to get a simple reply. You won't have to wonder if you're still important to them, because their actions will prove it every day without you saying a word. The people who are meant for you will show up without pressure. They'll give you attention not because you asked, but because it's natural for them to do so. They'll check on you, they'll care for you, they'll prioritize you because that's who they are and because you matter to them. You don't have to beg someone who sees your worth, and you don't have to fear losing someone who truly values you. The ones who want to be in your life won't leave just because you stop chasing. If someone walks away when you stop begging, that means they were never yours to begin with. Think about how much time and energy gets wasted worrying about being forgotten, worrying about being replaced, worrying about what will happen if you don't hold on tighter. That kind of thinking robs you of peace. It makes you settle for less than you deserve. It makes you stay in relationships where your needs aren't met just because you're scared to start over. But let me tell you this, being alone is not the enemy. Begging for love that isn't real, that's the enemy. Staying in a situation where you constantly have to prove yourself, that's the enemy. Losing yourself in the fear of losing someone else, that's the enemy. You've got to start believing that you're strong enough to handle loss. Because you are. You've survived things before, and you'll survive them again. And once you get past that fear, you realize something powerful. When you stop being afraid of losing people, you stop settling for less. You stop begging for scraps of attention, and you start demanding the love you deserve. You stop worrying about who might leave, and you start trusting that the right ones will always stay. When you conquer the fear of loss, you gain freedom. You free yourself from desperation. You free yourself from chasing people who don't want to be caught. You free yourself from begging for attention that should have been given freely. And in that freedom, you discover your real value. You realize that if someone leaves, it's not the end, it's just a chance for something better to come. You realize that you don't have to hold on to people who don't hold on to you. Because the truth is, the people who are supposed to be in your life won't need begging or fear to stay there. They'll stay because they choose to. And that's the only kind of attention worth having. Too many people think that the only way to keep someone close is by constantly reminding them of your presence. You call over and over, you text nonstop, you ask, do you still love me? Do you still care? But here's the thing, real presence is not about pleading. Real presence is about the impact you have when you show up as your best self. When you're unforgettable, you don't have to remind somebody that you're there. They feel you even in your absence. That's the difference between begging and being. Begging says, please don't forget me. Being says, you could never forget me because of the value I bring. Presence is powerful. It's not about how loud you are. It's about how consistent you are. It's not about forcing your way into someone's attention. It's about carrying yourself in a way that makes your energy stick with them long after you've left the room. You want to know how to keep someone's attention. Become the kind of person whose presence brings peace, joy, inspiration, or strength. When you give people something real, they don't need to be begged to notice you. They feel it on their own. Think about the people you never forget. It's not because they begged for your time. It's not because they kept nagging for attention. You remember them because of the way they made you feel, the way they carried themselves, the way they added value to your life. That's the kind of presence you have to create in your relationships. When you're focused on bringing love, encouragement, understanding, and support, you don't have to keep asking, do you see me? Because your presence speaks for itself. And let's be clear, presence doesn't mean overextending yourself, giving so much that you drain yourself dry just to stay noticed. Presence isn't about sacrifice without return. It's about balance. It's about showing up as your true self, bringing your best qualities into the relationship and letting that be enough. Because the truth is, if you're showing up with love and authenticity and it's still not enough for them, then nothing you do will ever be. Begging won't fix it. Overcompensating won't fix it. Only the right person, the one who recognizes your presence as valuable, will honor it without needing to be begged. Presence is about quality, not quantity. You don't need to be in someone's face all day to keep their attention. You don't need to constantly remind them of your worth. You just need to show up consistently as the person you are meant to be. When your love is genuine, When your energy is solid, when your actions match your words, people remember that. They feel it deeply. They carry it with them even when you're not around. That's the kind of presence that doesn't fade. Begging is temporary, but presence is lasting. You can beg someone to stay on the phone for an extra 5 minutes, and they'll hang up anyway. But if your presence leaves a mark on their heart, they'll think about you long after the call ends. You can beg someone to spend more time with you, but if your presence is powerful, they'll want to spend time with you on their own. That's why the secret is not in asking for attention, but in living in a way that commands attention naturally. So stop worrying about reminding people of your value every second. Start living in your value. Start walking in your light. Start carrying yourself in a way that makes people feel blessed to have you in their lives. That's presence. And when you master that, you won't have to beg to be remembered. You'll be unforgettable. Confidence is one of the most magnetic forces you can ever carry in a relationship. When you are confident, you don't have to beg for attention because attention naturally finds you. People are drawn to confidence the way flowers are drawn to sunlight. It's irresistible. But when you doubt yourself, when you constantly second guess whether you are enough, that insecurity starts to leak out in everything you do. You text too much because you're worried they've forgotten you. You ask too often if they still care because you don't feel secure in their love. You compare yourself to others because you're not sure of your own value. And slowly, that insecurity pushes people away. Not because they don't care about you, but because no one can keep pouring enough attention to fill a cup that has holes in it. Confidence, on the other hand, says, I am enough with or without your validation. And let me tell you, that kind of energy is powerful. When you walk into a room with confidence, people notice you before you even open your mouth. When you're in a relationship with confidence, your partner sees it, feels it, and is inspired by it. They don't feel like you're draining them with constant demands. Instead, they feel like they're connected to someone strong, someone who knows their worth, someone who doesn't need to beg to feel loved. That's the kind of presence that keeps attention without ever having to ask for it. The funny thing about confidence is that it doesn't come from what others say about you. It comes from what you say about yourself. If you keep waiting for somebody else to make you feel beautiful, to make you feel important, to make you feel valuable, you're always going to be begging. But when you decide for yourself that you are valuable, when you decide for yourself that you deserve love, when you decide for yourself that you are enough, then you stop chasing validation and start attracting respect. People want to be around someone who knows who they are. That kind of self-assurance is like gravity. It pulls everything toward it. Now, don't confuse confidence with arrogance. Confidence isn't about acting like you don't need anybody or walking around like you're better than everyone else. True confidence is quiet, steady, and secure. It's saying, I know my worth, and I won't settle for less than I deserve. It's showing up with kindness, with love, with grace, but never with desperation. It's loving someone fully while still knowing that your whole identity isn't dependent on them. That balance is what makes confidence so attractive. It allows you to love freely without fear because you're not basing your worth on whether or not they give you attention. Think about it when you see someone living their life fully, chasing their dreams, carrying themselves with pride, smiling with joy. You want to be close to that. That's what confidence does in a relationship. It makes your partner proud to be with you. It keeps them curious about you. It inspires them to match your energy. You don't have to say, notice me. They notice you because your confidence shines louder than any words ever could. Confidence is also protective. It keeps you from staying in situations where you're not valued. Because when you're confident, you know that losing someone who doesn't treat you right isn't really a loss. You know that your worth doesn't decrease because somebody else failed to see it. And that mindset gives you strength. It keeps you from begging for the wrong kind of attention. It allows you to wait patiently for the right kind of love, the kind that sees your confidence as a blessing, not a threat. So if you want to keep attention in a relationship without begging, build your confidence, work on yourself, invest in your growth, love who you are becoming. Because once you truly believe in yourself, you'll never have to beg anyone to believe in you. Your confidence will draw the right people in and keep the wrong people out. And the attention you get won't just be temporary. It will be genuine, lasting, and rooted in respect.